Bereshit chapter 30. When Rachel saw that she was not bearing children for Yaakov, or Jacob, she envied her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children or I will die." This made Jacob angry at Rachel. He answered, "Am I in God's place? He's the one who is denying you children." She said, "Here is my maid Bilhah. Go sleep with her and let her give birth to a child that will be laid on my knees, so that through her I too can build a family." So she gave Bilhah her slave girl as his wife. And Jacob went in and slept with her. Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. Rachel said, "God has judged in my favor, indeed. He has heard me and given me a son." Therefore she called him Dan, which means he judged. Bilhah, Rachel's slave girl, conceived again and bore Yaakov a second son. Rachel said, "I have wrestled mightily with my sister in one," and called him Naphtali, which means my wrestling. When Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took Zilpah, her slave girl, and gave her to Jacob as his wife. Zilpah, Leah's slave girl, bore Jacob a son, and Leah said, "Good fortune has come," calling him Gad, which means good fortune. Zilpah, Leah's slave girl, bore Jacob a second son, and Leah said, "How happy I am! Women will say I am happy," and called him Asher, which means happy. During the wheat harvest season, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field and brought them to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes, so that I can be fertile." She answered, "Isn't it enough that you have taken away my husband? Do you have to take my son's mandrakes too?" Rachel said, "Very well, in exchange for your son's mandrakes, sleep with him tonight." When Jacob came in from the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, "You have to come and sleep with me, because I've hired you with my son's mandrakes." So Jacob slept with her that night. God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Leah said, "God has given me my hire, because I gave my slave girl to my husband." So she called him Issachar, or Issachar. Hire, reward, is what it means. Leah conceived again and bore a sixth son to Jacob. Leah said, "God has given me a wonderful gift. Now at last my husband will live with me, since I have borne him 6 sons." And she called him Zebulun, which means living together. After this she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah, which means controversy over rights. Then God took note of Rachel, heeded her prayer, and made her fertile. She conceived, had a son, and said, "God has taken away my disgrace." She called him Joseph, which means, "May he add," saying, "May Adonai add to me another son." After Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, "Send me on my way, so that I can return to my own place, to my own country. Let me take my wives, for whom I have served you, and my children, and let me go. You know very well how faithfully I have served you." Laban answered him, "If you regard me favorably, then please listen. I have observed the signs that Adonai has blessed me on account of you. Name your wages," he said, "I will pay them." Jacob replied, "You know how faithfully I have served you, and how your livestock have prospered under my care. The few you had before I came have increased substantially. Adonai has blessed you wherever I went. But before I came have increased substantially. But now when will I provide for my own household?" Laban said, "What should I give you?" "Nothing," answered Jacob. "Just do this one thing for me. Once more I will pasture your flock and take care of it. I will also go through the flock and pick out every speckled, spotted, or brown sheep, and every speckled or spotted goat. These and their offspring will be my wages. And I will let my integrity stand as witness against me in the future, when you come to look over the animals constituting my wages. Every goat that isn't speckled or spotted, and every sheep that isn't brown will count as stolen by me." Laban replied, "As you have said, so be it." That day Laban removed the male goats that were streaked or spotted, and all the female goats that were speckled or spotted, every one with white on it, and all the brown sheep, turned them over to his sons, and put 3 days' distance between himself and Jacob. Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob took fresh cut branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees and made white streaks on them by peeling off the bark. Then he set the rods he had peeled upright in the watering troughs so that the animals would see them when they came to drink. And since they bred when they came to drink, the animals mated inside of the rods and gave birth to streaked, speckled, and spotted young. Jacob divided the lambs and had the animals mate with the streaked and the brown in the flock of Laban. He also kept his own livestock separate and did not have them mix with Laban's flock. Whenever the hardier animals came into heat, Yaakov would set up the rods in the watering troughs so that the animals would see them and conceive in front of them. But he didn't set up the rods in front of the weaker animals. Thus the more feeble were Laban's and the stronger Jacob's. In this way the man became very rich and had large flocks along with male and female slaves, camels, and donkeys.